Testing, 1, 2. Okay, well, let's hope this works. Hello, everyone. A. Cagliano here, and we are back. Well, not back, kind of, but here for the first time on a brand new channel to do a video on an explanatory video on a program. Now, I don't have that many to my name, so this will be kind of a work in progress sort of thing. But for today's video, we are going to be going over the usage of Blast File Integrity software, designed by me a couple months ago, which it was a fun project and gave me a lot of experience and techniques and algorithmical knowledge on how to deal with all sorts of fun data combinations and patterns, and it was a very nice exercise for me in making a useless program, and it was a fairly good exercise for everyone else in using a useless program. So without further ado, here we go. We start the program as with any other by hitting the enter key and actually doing it on the app, not on the OBS screen. Now, the first thing that happens is the program indexes all the devices on the list. Now, in this case, it took all of 2 seconds because there's maybe 2 programs on the device here. If you have more programs on your device, you'll have a little bit of a harder time getting it to load them all. It'll do them all. It'll just take you 5 hours. So to fix that, well, less to fix than to than to improve that. You can go to settings, enable split indexing mode. What that will do is it will save the time-intensive portions of the indexing for later during subsequent reloads of this program. Now, when we hit clear to go back, your options are saved. So now if you'll observe, we hit enter, the option remains selected. Now we use the arrow keys on the calculator to do most of our navigating through menus. So use the arrow key, the down arrow key to go to these, the enter key to toggle the status of these options, and for this one, which we'll get into later, we're using the left and right arrow keys. So let's set a value of 5 for now, and we'll back up. Now, there's your about screen, which I didn't implement because I was too lazy. Everyone can kind of tell. I don't really need an about screen when the about information is literally off to the right when you first load the program, so I should kind of remove that, but, we'll get to it eventually. File options. Now, this here is where the meat of this program occurs. You have listed off to the left-hand side your all file names on your device. Now, if we go back to settings, which we'll do later, you can allow it to scan more kinds of programs. When it starts up, it's doing only your protected programs. That's it. So right now, Blast File Integrity Software, compressed assembly program, so that's being shown, and Star Trek, which will actually be renamed, and is actually a program we're going to be discussing on this channel at a later date. Now, this is also a compressed assembly program, so it also shows up. Now, a couple of options here. First, we hit enter on a program. When you hit enter, you see the menu selector show up on the options here. Now you have these options. Enable tracking. Enable tracking allows you to start tracking attributes on a file. Now, much like a computer version of file integrity software, there are many attributes about a file, the modification of any of which can indicate potential corruption, malware, etc. On a calculator, we don't have such a wide array of data that we can work with. Calculator files don't have headers and compression algorithms and all sorts of jazz. They're just a size word, a name, and a checksum. It's pretty much it. So that's what we do. Now, as you can see, you have the file name and the file type. Now, underneath that, you have attribute tracking, which at this moment says disabled, because it is in fact disabled. Now, You have your file size, which is the size of the program in memory, and then you have a 32-bit checksum. And for full details on this program and the algorithms used, you can see the GitHub, which I will post a link to in the description of this video. Now, enabling tracking allows the program to save the current attributes of the file into a database and check against them later, just like AID or RK Hunter or many of the intrusion detection softwares that you would find on your computer work. Enable tracking, it changes attribute tracking to enabled, and you get um, your green icons next to file size and CRC32, indicating that this file has passed attribute verification. Update attributes, we're not going to do it because there's no need to, but if you update a file yourself, you hit update attributes and it overwrites the old attributes with the new ones. Scan file, we'll get to that later. Actually, no, we'll get to it right now. This program has some modest malware detection capabilities now. It works using a malware definitions file that is community sourced, meaning that anyone can supply definitions for the file. The program will then scan each file for those malware opcodes. If it finds them, it will print the name of the opcode and the address in memory at which the opcode was found. If it does not find any, it will print not found, and here we are. This file is clear of malware. Now, snapshot, we'll get to at a later date. So we're going to back out of this menu just for now. To back out of the menu, we hit clear. You will see your thing selected here, just like it used to be. Now you notice if we go down to this one, different attributes, attribute tracking disabled. So with this particular version of the program, you are able to individually enable tracking on, virus scanning on, snapshotting of individual files instead of the whole lot of them. So that was a significant improvement over version 1. System scans has more or less the same information. However, because the operating system is massive, it would take a while to return a checksum. So what we do is we defer that until you actually request it. So we're going to request one now. We have an hourglass. My friends who use Windows will be very familiar with the hourglass. I'm sure intimately familiar with the hourglass. It'll take about a minute, after which time the checksum of the operating system will be revealed. Up top there, you see the size of the operating system, 588,000 bytes. That's how many bytes we are currently checksumming, so that's going to take a few minutes. Once we've obtained the checksum, we can then hit Save OS Attributes, and it will also save the OS attributes into the file. And we will have that. Now, ScanOS does more or less the same thing as it did for the program. It scans for the malware, but within the operating system. So we'll just wait a few minutes. Oh, it's done already. So we save OS attributes, file operation completed, checksum is saved. Now, just for the heck of it. Now again, this is going to take a little bit longer because it's just a larger sequence of data to scan. So just give it a minute. That there is a false positive. That particular sequence of code does occur within the operating system. And we have received, we have finished, we have gotten our results. Now, I promise you, if you get this, your OS is not infected. Some of these opcodes, or more specifically opcode sequences, do occur within the do occur within the operating system. So breathe a little easier on that one. We hit clear again. Clear is always the back and exit key. So clear, 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 clear. If you're in a menu, clear. If you're in program information, clear. If you're in the main menu, clear to quit. You can also scroll to clear, but the clear button at this point will take you out of the program. Now, snapshots. we have no snapshots right now. Snapshots are basically like a mix between backups and version control. So for instance, we are going to go to Blast FIS. We are going to create a snapshot. Snapshot enabled. Now, we're going to back out. And we are going to go to snapshots. And there we have it. Now, I know that the date is a little bit off here. Its calculator hasn't been on, and when the calculator is off, it screws with the date. Now, one of the features that this program does have is weekly you have a new build of the malware definitions coming off of my website, the link to which will be in the description as well. Anytime the program starts, if the date of the clock is earlier than the date of the malware definitions file, it will set the date of the calculator to the date of the malware definitions file. Cool, nifty little feature. It won't completely bring your date up to sync, but it brings it sort of up to sync, and you just have to correct the day and the time. So, right now the calculator thinks it's January 5th, 2020. It's January 8th, 2020. By hitting enter again, now, much like clear gets you out of every menu, enter can get you into any menu. You can use the enter key here to select revert. Let's say you do something to the program that you don't like. You can revert it. The program gets infected, fails a malware check, fails a file integrity check. You can revert it. You accidentally delete the program. Well, guess what? You can still revert it. And this here, you can delete the snapshots. This right here deletes all of them. All saved snapshots for that file get deleted. It is intended in a subsequent release to change that and allow you to delete individual snapshots. That's a bridge we'll cross when we get there. Right now, my time is spent on another software which we will be discussing at a later date on this channel. So we'll back out of here, and we will now jump to the rest of the settings. Now, we talked already about split indexing mode, but in case you missed it, there's a description on the screen. You can go ahead and read it. After that, we have index unlocked programs. Now, by default, this program only indexes protected programs, so compiled assembly, basically. But if you select this option, you can enable the program to index even like TI Basic ones, which you really don't need. TI Basic is all but harmless. And next but not least, you have index application variables. Due to many rules of obfuscation and compression and fun stuff, you really can't. There's no use to scanning data structures. I mean, you can check for unobfuscated malware by scanning the data structures, but because most of them implement compression of some sort, or will be obfuscated in some other way, there's really no purpose. But if you want some extra security, you want to feel safe, you can by all means add this. So you would select or deselect these. Select means index them, deselect means doesn't. Then you have here your snapshot max file count and the memory usage. So right now, as is set, the program is only able to store 5 snapshots. Now, this means that the program can store snapshots of 5 different programs. This does not mean it's only allowed to store 5 snapshots. It can store, say, 5 snapshots of one program, 5 snapshots of another, 5 of another, but it can't do more than 5 independent individual programs. Unfortunately, that's a little bit of a flaw in design because you can simply bypass the limitations by just keep creating snapshots of the same file and eventually fill up your memory, which, as you can see, you are shown the memory usage of all snapshots at the bottom of that option. Memory usage in this case is 87,000. Boy, I can't read. 8,768 bytes. And obviously, as you continue to store more snapshots, this will increase. When you hit the snapshot max file count, the program will refuse to create any more snapshots. Now, I will eventually, at a later date, update this program to limit snapshots to a certain maximum amount of memory rather than file count, but at the time I was sort of in a rush to wrap the project up, so I imposed that limitation, and that was it for then. Anyway, we are essentially done with the program. Now, a few quick add-ons. You can re-index. Re-index meaning make the program recompile a database of all variables on the system. So for instance, let's say we want to index application variables. Now, because the index was already taken when the program first loaded, they won't show up immediately. You have to re-index after changing either of those two options, either the one for application variables or the one for unlocked programs. And after you do that, you re-index. Now you do that by hitting the stat key. That's the one right next to the arrow pad. You hit the stat key, it re-indexes, and now there you go. You have all your application variables shown. Now, as you can see, after the re-index process, the attribute tracking on BlastFIS still matches, and we have a bunch more files. The malware definitions file over here for the same program, the save file of the virus settings, this program, the C libraries by Mateo. Those are needed to run this program, by the way, links to which will be in the documentation for this program. This, which we'll get into in a later date, and also that. And there we have it, fellas. Blast File Integrity Software. Let me take 2 minutes to see if there's anything that I possibly did not think to mention. I have no idea. I think I covered everything. Alright guys, well, if you watched this video, thanks for watching. Feel free to download. Links will be in the description down below. And we will catch you, hopefully next week, with another video on some software that I've made, or am in the process of making. So, stay tuned.